Hi, I'm Shan Wu with the Undercolor of Law analysis of the latest blow in favor of money laundering proposed by the Trump administration. So put up this headline for you, and the Trump Treasury Department is basically gutting the anti-money laundering law, in particular one that was put in by the Biden administration, which was really hailed as a really big step towards making things more transparent, making it harder to hide tax evasions and money laundering. The particular law was the Corporate Transparency Act, CTA, and it requires corporations and LLCs to disclose information on who owns and controls a business entity. This is known technically as a beneficial owner. It's an anti-money laundering law, and Trump wants to stop it, and he says that stopping it, and the way he's going to stop it is Treasury says they're no longer going to enforce this. Okay, that's how he stops it. He's saying that it's, quote, exciting news because the law itself is, quote, invasive and outrageous, unquote. The penalties for that law, not particularly onerous, up to 2 years in jail and the maximum fine of $10,000. Now, as one scholar has noted, it's really exciting news indeed, but it's exciting news for tax evaders and for money launderers. Take a look at the resource here. You can read more about it. And let's talk for a moment about what is the Corporate Transparency Act. Is it really onerous and burdensome? And how it works. So the main part of the reporting requirement is that businesses have to file reports with FinCEN. So FinCEN is the part of Treasury. Acronym comes from the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And it's a bureau at Treasury. And the whole point of it is to coordinate financial intelligence, and they coordinate with terrorism because there's a big connection between those. And part of their mission is to safeguard the financial system from illegal activity, counter money laundering efforts, and the financing of terrorism. So obviously this is a very strategic national security issue because from the terror aspect, and we'll talk more about national security later, but you don't want people to be able to hide the way that money is actually coming in and going out to finance terrorist groups. So striking this law down seems like a common sense bad idea and promotes tax evasion and money laundering, but there's at least one group that seems very happy about it. These folks. And let me just read from the excerpt, which is their association writes that for over a year, cattle producers have been extremely concerned with the ever-changing direction of the Corporate Transparency Act and the steep punishment associated with noncompliance. They go on to thank President Trump, saying without Trump's intervention, millions of small business owners may have been in violation with the law. We greatly appreciate Treasury developing a new rule that provides certainty for small businesses and protects American agriculture. All right, a couple things here. First of all, the reporting does not strike me as being that onerous. Let's take a look at what the reporting actually looks like. First of all, it's not an annual requirement. It's like a one-time only requirement, unless you have to update information for it, which I guess could happen a lot if you have a very complex network of shell companies. But in that case, you probably wouldn't be reporting it anyway. And it requires four pieces of information: name, date of birth, address, and the identifying number and issuer from a non-expired U.S. driver's license or passport or other kind of identification. They must submit certain information about the entity, its name, its address. So I'm not sure why this seems so onerous, and I'm not sure why it would be particularly tough on cattlemen or other small businesses to comply with that, but maybe it is. The way to address that is how the cattlemen suggest that things have been going on, which is actually not how they've been going on, which is rulemaking, right? You criticize the rules, there's a whole process for rulemaking, there's a public commentary period, there can be lobbying, members of Congress should listen to their constituents if their constituents, cattlemen, have problems with it. All that's out the window. This is a rule that is already in place. It's a law passed by Congress in 2021, and Trump and his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, former hedge fund manager, maybe still is managing hedge funds, said, nah, we're not going to enforce it anymore. Just say no to it. A little bit about his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bensond. He had to do a financial disclosure, which he actually did, and he owns as much as $25 million worth of farmland in North Dakota, earns an income from soybean corn production. He owns a property in the Bahamas worth as much as $25 million. Last November, Mr. Bensond put his historic pink mansion in Charleston, South Carolina on the market for $22.5 million. So, Mr. Bensond is going to sell a lot of his investments that might present conflicts of interest, including a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, an account that trades in renminbi, Chinese currency, and his stake in a conservative publisher. He has a margin loan, this is all public reporting from Goldman Sachs, of more than $50 million. Okay. This is not exactly a small business kind of guy, but who knows, maybe among his holdings are also cattle ranches. In any event, he seems like the kind of person for whom the Corporate Transparency Act would really be a pain to comply with. Now, one other side note I'd say is, why they always feel that the Treasury Secretary has to be somebody who has extremely complex billionaire finances. Why not put someone up there who is just a regular financial person to take a look at how the Treasury Department's policies actually affects regular people? Now, for someone who seems as concerned about fraud and waste as Trump claims to be, you would think that he wants to make sure no one's dodging taxes through shell companies. But doesn't seem very worried about that because he just wants to make it supposedly easier to do business. Now, it's really much easier for oligarchs and foreign oligarchs and foreign organizations to do business because if you make sure there's zero transparency about the revenue and financial schemes, that makes their ability to do business a whole lot easier. That really seems like who it is that is being helped here. Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, has described this as a victory for common sense, that it's going to unleash American prosperity by reining in burdensome regulations. As one commentator says, unleashing prosperity is a great goal, but the White House's chosen method is going to really hurt accountability and transparency, and it's more than just a matter of knowing who has the actual corporate reins, who's behind the shell company. It serves as a tool against dictatorships using financial networks to move money in secrecy, either to help themselves or to help terrorist organizations. So Trump saying they're not going to enforce this anymore takes away a really vital tool for this. And the commentator suggests that, and I agree, autocrats and major criminals around the world are going to be celebrating this. This was a major piece of the Biden administration's effort to combat corruption. And the fact that Trump and his DOJ are also no longer going to prosecute the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. I can take a deeper dive into that later. That basically is a law that says, while you might get away with bribery in other countries, if you're a U.S. company, you can't go there and engage in bribery, no matter what it may be called there. So don't need to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. That makes it really hard to do business, right? So you put those two things together, and you get a very good sense of synergy for what the Trump administration is doing. And it's just another reminder that the Trump administration is not about helping the U.S. government help us. It's about helping themselves. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks again for the comments and replies. Appreciate those, and we will talk to you soon. Catch me on Blue Sky.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.